Now, the techniques that I am going to be sharing with you are yes and, no but, no no's, as if, and so. Hey there, all you jive chickies and cool cats. I want to get really lexicographical with you, fantastical conjunctions for your creativity in your brainwashed mind. Freaky fours, fanboys, ors, but not that. I'm just messing with you, but I will give you some sentence fragments that will help you be more creative, so pay attention. The first one is the one that everyone knows, and it comes from improv. It is yes and. You start off with something like, I'm the king of France. Yes, and you're addicted to opium. It's a really good technique for collaborative situations because you're never actually implicitly rejecting what your partner is saying. You're always accepting by using a positive and adding that to the premise. And it stops you from thinking. There has actually been research that shows that part of the reason why people have more difficulty lying is because it's more difficult to think about exclusives, that is, things which are not the case, than things which are the case. Another technique which is quite related from Looney Tunes, where they would get everyone who was creative in the studio, and I guess cartoon studio, everyone was creative, they would get them all into a room and they would give them a premise, like, let's say, Elmer Fudd is hunting Bugs Bunny, and everyone was allowed to contribute ideas. No one was allowed to say, oh no. The most outrageous, ludicrous ideas were actually welcomed, especially under Bob Clampett, who is how I found out about this story. He would invite all of the most deranged ideas possible, because it's always easy to sort of edit out everything that you don't want. I'm going to start again. But the point was there was no censorship. There was no censorship. All ideas were on the table. And you could actually incorporate this with the yes and. Now, there is the total opposite. Magicians Penn and Teller, they would use no but. Now, I'm not sure how it would work. Would Teller actually say something, or would he just go, and pantomime like that? I like pantomime. Penn would be like, no, I don't like that idea, but you're taking a little bit of their idea, you're accepting their contribution, and then you're taking it in a different direction. This is probably actually more useful to use on yourself if you're working alone or trying to edit your own work. Another one comes from practical aesthetics, which was invented by David Mamet and William H. Macy, and this is sort of the inversion of a Stanislavski technique. It's called as if. The idea is that after you understand what the character is doing, why they are doing it, you've put a lot of thought into it, then you transmute the action they're performing through yourself. This is different from the Stanislavski magic if, which is if I was a tree. I kind of look like one right now, don't I? If I was a tree, I would stand tall, and then I would wither in the autumn months. Or if I was the king of France, I would know no privacy. I would have no shame. They're two different techniques. And finally, there is and so, which is the question that writer Lisa Krohn says that you must be asking every time you commit something to the paper. You must be asking and so. Okay, a little girl is eating a cookie, and so that cookie's going to poison her, or and so this is going to remind her father of the bakery goods that he used to get as a child. Oh, probably connects a bit to another conjunction, which I've mentioned in another episode, but and therefore, which was used by South Park to give a causal chain to everything you do. Now, the reason why I became very interested in conjunctions was because via reading about Aristotle's categories, and there are 12 categories, ousia, quantity, quality, relation, place, time, position, having, poiesis, and passion, that's making and affection. Immanuel Kant came along and he decided, well, I don't like those categories and I'm going to come up with something which is slightly similar but different. Now we got some sehr good categories from that crazy German idealist cat, Immanuel. Can I get a crazy cat? Oh yeah, unity, plurality, totality, reality, negation, limitation, inherence, subsistence, causality, possibility, existence, and necessity. Oh yeah, give it up for Kant. Now, all the categories basically pertain to propositions, not propositioning something, although that would be very relevant if we're talking about improv and acting, because isn't everything a proposition? But the propositions in the form of a sentence which contain a predicate, such as green, tall, short, robust, and a substance, ousia in the ancient Greek. Ousia more or less corresponds to a noun. For example, the tall man, the dead animal, it's like those two sentences are propositions. And both Aristotle and Kant invented a semi-exhaustive way of trying to analyze all the possible propositions effectively to teleologically arrive at an idea of what is true. Okay, all propositions can either be evaluated as either true or false. It's like all the cars are red. Why all this stuff about conjunctions and propositions and Immanuel Kant? And dig that freaky, anachronistic 1950s beatnik stereotype. That's a cliche that's got it all happening, daddy-o. Well, it basically comes down to what I said earlier about how the more cognitive load is used by asking negative questions. A similar observation, it comes from a book called Willpower, and it says that there are two fundamental types of questions. There are low-level questions, such as, what is an example of a singer? And high-level questions, such as, a singer is an example of what? I don't know how accurate this is, but the book basically said the low-level questions make you focus on the present. Low-level questions can also start either looking for specific cases of something or begin with the word how, whereas high-level questions begin with why or make you think of, rather than specific cases, what genre something fits into. I don't know how that's true, but it raises an interesting point about how you can actually change your thinking. You can actually manipulate your own thinking by the process of asking the right question. It's almost cliche to say now that the questions you ask yourself and how you frame the problem is going to affect the answer you give. I've never heard this more brilliantly put than Wittgenstein in Philosophical Investigations. And I really want to share this quote with you because I just can't stop thinking about it. To look for something is surely an expression of expectation. To look for something is surely an expression of expectation. In other words, how do you search in one way or another expresses what you expect. Thus, the idea would be that what expectation has in common with reality is that it refers to another point in the same space used in the completely general sense. When you find what you're looking for, that means the space that occupies is the same space it occupies in reality. But more importantly, how you go about looking tells you where you expect to find it. Ray Dalio was a billionaire hedge fund manager, and Principles is an excellent book. He said that while most, I'm just going to go quotes now, while most others seem to believe that having answers is better than having questions, I believe that having questions is better than having answers because it leads to more learning. Oh, isn't that nice? Now, this is a real Albert Einstein quote I'm going to throw at you. Albert Einstein and Leopold Enfield wrote in a book together, "The mere formulation of a problem is often more essential than its solution, which may be a mere matter of mathematical or experimental skill. To raise new questions, new possibilities, to regard old problems from a new angle requires creative imagination and makes real advances in science." Daniel Dennett said, "Philosophy, in every field of inquiry, is what you have to do to figure out what questions you should have been asking in the first place." He might have been influenced by Wittgenstein, who wrote in a journal, "It is one of the chief skills of the philosopher not to occupy himself with questions which do not concern him." Satirically, Thomas Pynchon wrote in Gravity's Rainbow, "If they can get you asking the wrong questions, then they don't have to worry about the answers." Aristotle, and I think Cicero and Quintilian also agreed with this, he said that at the heart of every speech is a central question. And Aristotle actually identified 3 types of questions for the 3 main speeches. There's questions of the future, such as, should we Athenians invade Sicily? Should we put a stop to artificial intelligence research? These are questions of the future. They are questions of the past, such as, did Brutus murder Caesar? That is the kind of question that will be in a speech in a court case. Celebratory speech one is a question of the present. What is heroism? What is courage? What is cowardice? These are questions for the present that you might hear in a graduation speech, for example. The more simply you can boil down a speech, or really potentially even a story, to a simple proposition, a simple yes or no answer, you all of a sudden have a clarity. This doesn't mean that you should make your work simple, but you should know what the central point of what you're trying to accomplish is. This comes down to the importance of asking questions. Whether they are the questions concerning what is the purpose of life and what is the nature of reality, such as in Immanuel Kant and Aristotle's philosophy, or this is questions of what were you trying to accomplish with a specific work of art, which David Bowie would say actually ties together with the first point, because he says that what all artists are trying to do is understand their personal relationship with the world and universe around them. So this is why I became very interested in these conjunctions, because if you can start tying together and start arguing against yourself, you can put forward a proposition, you can start to shape the journey you go on to find answers to these questions. You can start arguing against propositions by saying no but, as if, and so. You can say this is such and such is heroism, no but. And you can start to shape your journey such that where you will find the answers in reality is going to correlate to the space that you expect to find them. And that is why I'm really excited by this simple sort of grammatical thing. So I think I've rambled enough at this point. Keep on asking questions. Until then, until you find the answers, I'm Constantine. Please stay sublime. I'm not going to say that. What makes you think that? Why do you think I would say that? I'm not going to say it. Do you think I would really demean myself any further by saying that? Okay. You gotta help us stuck. We tried nothing and we're all out of ideas. On the train to Squaresville. There, you're fucking happy? You're fucking happy that I've demeaned myself even further? Because now it's not only just a cliche, it's not just a cliche, but now it's a stolen cliche. So how do you fucking feel about that, you fuckers?